now, just in case something happens.
Okay. How much time do we have on this?
We should have unlimited time, really.
Oh, okay. All
That doesn't mean
right.
I want to keep you all day trapped in a virtual world with an Englishman.
You know, I used to live over there, right? I mean,
Yeah,
I lived there
yeah.
for
Where was you
years.
living in the UK?
Well, I lived in London, and I lived in the Cotswolds,
Oh, that's
out
very
in
beautiful. Yeah,
Hounds and Horses place with the rich people.
with the gentry.
The gentry,
So
yes.
where did
Yeah.
you live in London?
Um,
So if you can
do I
remember.
remember? If you said the name of the, well, I was up by Hampstead for
Ooh,
sure.
okay, posh.
And well, yeah, but we weren't living posh. What I did is I married an old friend of mine. We sort of he'd been married, and anyway, he left his marriage and he got back in touch with me, and we'd sort of been in love for many years, 30 years off and on. Uh, but kind of all in our heads is what I finally realized.
Isn't everything all in our heads?
And anyway, I went over there and to stay. We just got married, and it's the only marriage I've ever had. I was 60 when I did that.
Wow. Are you
Uh,
not still married then?
no, no, I'm not, because it took longer to get the divorce than it did that we were married, because the British are the way the British are.
Oh, the
Um,
British.
but yeah, he's a sweetheart, and he was just wrecked by those terrible private schools you call public schools, because he was upper class, and I couldn't help him any further, and I stayed 3 years. Then I came home, and then he got the divorce over there for me. So we're not even friends now because I just can't. He's just he's just so messed up. It's very sad. He he was involved with Pink Floyd for many years.
Oh,
He
wow. In what respect? Was he in the band or like management?
No, he's the lighting designer.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a brilliant guy, brilliant and very kind, very sweet, but very undeveloped, and I think traumatized,
I
deeply
think that's
traumatized.
what the British schooling system does at that end of the spectrum is it breaks them, it breaks people down, it empties them, hollows them out, and then it fills in with new substances. So it takes
Well, it's
away all
like
the
mind control. Yeah, it's mind control,
yeah, basically
definitely.
completely
Yeah,
breaking of the human spirit.
yeah, and probably the only good I did was that I was able to help him begin to sort of get into a little bit of therapy. We went over his dreams. I analyzed his dreams. Not that I'm a therapist, but I'm very good at that sort of stuff. And it got to where he did begin to wake up to a degree. And then I had just had to go because I knew I was going to turn into a really very unpleasant woman to live with because of how nothing was as it should have been. So anyway, I was there
Well,
three
I'll
years.
be your new British male friend now.
You'll be my British friend.
Yeah, your new British male friend who's not been through that system, who's been through the kind of
all,
basic schooling
all
system.
screwed up by the class thing.
Yeah, no, no, I'm
Yeah,
not screwed up
yeah,
by
the
it. I didn't
class
really
thing.
attend very much school because it was kind of pointless. But I passed my exams and did what had to do. But I could see the pointlessness of it quite a young age.
Well, in his case, he was major sexually abused
Wow,
at the
at school.
terrible school at the school. Yeah,
Yeah.
very very. So his that part of him was all messed up. Yeah, very sad. Yeah,
That's
but
that's what
that was a
happens.
long
Yeah.
time ago. I came back 15 years ago, maybe somewhere around then, and I just have been continuing my writing.
Well, I haven't even done an introduction yet.
Well, you can cut all that out.
Yeah, but I'd like to just say your name, Elana Freeland, and welcome and hi, and welcome to Galactic Zoo. my podcast, which is only my second video interview. They've all been audio for the last year. But because I was speaking to you, I thought I'd do it in, I'll get the video machine out and get all technical. And then the gremlins came in, and then Steiner pushed them away gently back into the ether. Actually, should I tell you I'll tell you before we start, I'll tell you a really interesting thing that happened to me when I was in meditation once and I was trying to connect with Rudolf Steiner.
Oh, this was before today.
Yeah, it's just like maybe a year and a half ago. So I was sitting upstairs. And I got into, sometimes it's easier to meditate than others, and sometimes you really connect. Your head empties naturally, and you're having a very good time. And I was having a conversation with him, and I was in a kind of library, could have been a Akashic record type situation, and I was, and I felt this is actually, beyond. For the first time, I thought, this is beyond my imagination. This feels more kind of organic and happening. And then suddenly, the sound of a helicopter just appeared in like the real world, in this world, I could say, not the real world, but in this realm. And I opened my eyes because it was so loud, and it was just outside the window, a black helicopter. This is honestly from the bottom of my heart. And I know about the black helicopters coming when people do Merkaba meditation and Merkaba activation, and I've got a friend who does grid work, and he gets followed by jet black helicopters. In this meditation, it just appeared like that. It's like ba, 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 ba. And it was literally outside the window, and I had within like 2 feet of my reach, I had like a camera which I've been filming the geoengineering with, like really long lens, and by the time I'd literally reached to here and gone back, it disappeared. It was
Probably had stealth. Yeah, it was stealth.
Yeah, but I think they've definitely, if any light is emitting, they've got some kind of radar device and they pick that up like that.
Yeah, and that you were in touch with Rudolf Steiner. I mean, he's a very big gun. A lot of people think he's not, because there's not a big brouhaha over him, and it's a very quiet kind of thing. But he was the Christian initiate of the 20th century. I mean, he was it.
Should we start there, Elana? Do you want to give us spill us some beans on Mr. Steiner? Let's get your perspective, because I love Rudolf Steiner, I have to say, and
yes.
So if you just give us just chat about Rudolf Steiner for a minute, because I'd like to start there if you don't mind.
No, I don't mind. Are we recording now?
Yeah.
Well, I've been a student of Rudolf Steiner for 40 some years now, and I say student because I know there is a thing called anthroposophy, and I know that I'm supposed to say I'm an anthroposophist, but I'm not. I've probably only read maybe 20 of the books that Steiner wrote, and that are his lectures that were copied down verbatim by some of the people listening to him when he was alive. And of those books, I probably read maybe 10 of them over and over and over and over. So I don't consider myself to be one of what I call the librarians. Those are the people who seem to be in anthroposophy because they want everything to stay just the way it was, and they're there as the guardians to keep everything just as, chapter and verse and all of that. So to me, not very scientific, maybe very spiritual, but not really spiritual scientists. And yet I am very much a spiritual scientist. And so I don't call myself an anthroposophist because I haven't been a member of the society for many years. I stayed in for 7 years, and then I realized I was kind of dragging dead weight behind me, and quit, and have been much happier since, because I'm very, very attuned to some of the things that Rudolf Steiner said, particularly for people like me. And the reason I say that is not to make myself sound better than anyone. That isn't the point. The point is my destiny. And I have a very clear idea of my destiny, have for many years. I was really screwed up as a child by my screwed up parents and my screwed up secretive things going on in my life. But I fought my way out of that years later. And by the time I was 45, remembered what I had buried as to what had happened to me as a child, and was able to take that on and face the people I needed to face and say the things I needed to say. And then I was whole again, and I got my soul forces back. This is the problem with abuse, sexual or otherwise, in childhood, is it just robs your soul of many of the forces that you arrived in good faith with to do your destiny. And here come these people you didn't know you were going to have to deal with. And you have to lose a lot and then make new messes that you have to clean up. And then finally you get to the point where you do remember what was really done to you. And then you're able to confront the situation with the people involved. And then it's over. And then you can move on. And that's what happened to me. I finally was able to get back to my destiny when I was 45. And everything's been clear sailing since then, pretty much, even with the difficulties that life throws your way. I think with Steiner, he was a tremendous help to me because I'd always been a sort of savant, a real bright child, and I was in various programs in the Cold War after Sputnik went up, and they shoved all of us bright kids into special programs, and I could have ended up in MK Ultra or something, but fortunately I didn't, and I got out of those programs and was able to enter the 60s and participate in my generation. And it was at the very end of that I encountered a book about some of Rudolf Steiner's ideas. And because they were about teaching the ideas I saw, I knew that I would study this man because I knew that since I was 5, I've known I would be a teacher and a writer. And that's what I would do in this life. I'm just one of those people. I knew what I came to do. It's just that it was all sort of glommed up by all sorts of things that had to be taken care of. And so Rudolf Steiner really helped me to develop my thinking so that it's in touch with my heart forces again. Because I had it all up here, and I was being used by the people that thought that, the sun rises and sets on bright children. But this was completely a mess. And then I was able to retrieve my heart forces from what had happened to them. And I was able to set up this lemniscate between my head and my heart. And that was through Rudolf Steiner. He showed me how to do that. And the best book to read for that, for those that listen to this and have the same problem, I highly recommend reading The Philosophy of Freedom, because it's in there that he looks at what thinking really is. Thinking is a spiritual activity. And what that means is, I don't mean spiritual like, airy-fairy. I mean actual spiritual, what we might call quantum level consciousness. And that is in many people in America, because Americans are not very good in this area at all. They're very practical people. They're very childlike people who have good hearts, but really can't see what happens if it's at all subtle. And that was the other thing that happened to me when I was 25. Finishing college, my undergrad. I took 10 years to finish. I had an experience of what I later was told was the etheric Christ. And this was another thing that had to do with Steiner, but I didn't know it. I had this full-on vision in a college classroom uh, because I was completely depressed and in despair that I would never consciously encounter God. I mean, this drove me as a child and as a young adult. I wanted the experience of God. And so I hadn't fallen into the cults that were very common. The CIA was running all kinds of cults during the 60s. I didn't fall into any of those. I took from here and I took from there. I always knew that it would have to be a true individual experience. And that day I really felt that maybe I was going to have to live without it. And it was just too much to face. So then in that despair, which I later found out is very typical of all the saints who finally have this epiphany, have this great experience of God or Christ or whoever, they were all depressed. They were all despondent. And it's as though that's your knock and the door shall be opened kind of thing. So I had this vision. My college teacher, wonderful guy I got to know later, he saw something was happening to me and dismissed the class. And I then had to figure out what had happened to me because it was not evident to me. I knew I saw a very bright person or something.
Yeah, tell us what you saw. Explain like visually. Did you see something? What
Well,
visually?
we were reading from it was the religious studies class, and we were reading various spiritual works. We had read the Bhagavad Gita,
Nice.
and now we were reading the New Testament where Paul talks about Christ. And Paul is, I think it's in Romans or Galatians, I always forget. But there's this amazing verse where he says that it was the law. And I know he was thinking of the Jewish law. It was the law that gave occasion to sin. And sin meaning missing the mark. Because before the law, you didn't know where the mark was. You just were like a child. You know, like a child doesn't know where the mark is, except through their parents and their school and whatever. So Paul says, yeah, the law gave occasion to sin, but now another law has come, the law of Christ, which is grace, and everything is different. And at that moment, I said to my teacher, I raised my hand and I said, well, that now I understand why Indian religions say you need a guru, and the Christians say you need a shepherd to guide you. And as soon as I said that, everything collapsed. So I'm burying my head because I'm about to cry my soul out, and suddenly over me is some person with very amazing robes that are hugely bright. And when I tried to look at his face, it was just like a sun. I couldn't see any features. And out of that comes this hand of light reaching down to me. And then I'm like this, and my hand of light comes out of my body and reaches up, and we kind of do this. And as soon as we did that, I exploded. And then I was out of my body, up by the ceiling, looking down at myself, but I didn't feel it was myself. I knew it was a young woman, and she was in great pain. And I felt great compassion for her. And then I was back in my body. And then I saw a vision, and a voice from inside me said, "This is how you died the last time." And then I saw myself as a monk in Tibet or Nepal, and there was a huge earthquake, and I'm with 7 or 8 other monks, and we're toiling up some sort of trail, and suddenly we're shaken right off the mountain. And that was it. I came back into my body, and then I saw that my teacher had dismissed the class, and I was laughing and crying and laughing and crying, and I was just, but I didn't know what had happened. I didn't know what it was. And I said that to my teacher and this other student who was standing there. And he said, well, I think I know, but I'm not going to say anything because you need to find out yourself.
That's interesting.
So then 3 nights later, I finished my homework and I'm sitting, I live in Hawaii. I'm at University of Hawaii, Hilo College on the Big Island. And the wonderful orange blossom smell is coming in the evening. It's very nice. And then I feel a presence in the room. And I said, who are you that you call to me? And then I felt the kundalini shoot up my spine.
Wow.
And my head felt like hot mustard. And then a voice that had no words said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. And I'd never heard that because I was not raised Christian. I didn't know anything about Christianity really, or Jesus or any of that. So I kind of snuck around for a few days and asked my hippie friends if they'd ever heard that phrase. And most of them hadn't. And then I get to one and he says, oh yeah, that's how Jesus Christ identified himself. And then I felt really depressed because the last thing I wanted to be was a Christian. It was not cool.
No. How was you? Was you raised religious at all, or just kind of atheist, or
not at
agnostic?
all?
Nothing.
Not at all. No, my mother was Romanian, and she had lived through the Great Depression in soup lines and poverty, and all she wanted was money. That's the only religion she had. So what followed from there was I attempted for 5 years to go to churches because I thought that's where you go when you have this experience of Christ, and that didn't work out very well because it seemed like it was always coffee hour at these places, and it was gossipy, and the men were always trying to tell me what to do, or trying to, get to know me on some basis that I didn't want to get to know them. And so I stopped trying to do that. And then it was years later that I understood what had happened to me was that I had experienced the etheric Christ, because Steiner talks about that from 1932 on, there would be people who would experience Christ's entry into the etheric realm of the earth for the second coming, and that the second coming began in 1932 when Hitler was put in power in Germany, and we entered World War II, which was truthfully the first occult war, which now we're seeing we're in another occult war now. Much more is being seen. If you've prepared yourself, you could see much more. I mean, to me, all the conspiracy theories that I spent years on to unearth and make clear are now just completely obvious.
Yeah.
But if you weren't prepared, if you haven't spent years in preparation, then probably you might not see it as easily, and you'll still have to wake up. But the etheric Christ is very much what happened to me, because I was completely rebuilt from the time I was 25 till I was 45. And I could feel it going on. I could feel it in my body. I could feel it in my psyche.
How did that feel body-wise, Elana?
Well, it was like a tremendous presence, like an intelligent presence, sort of all through me, and it was it was not restructuring. It was filling my etheric body, which, as you know, is completely in our physical body. It was filling my etheric body with knowledge, with real knowledge that had experience in it. I mean, it was like I won the lottery or something in the spiritual world. I have no idea how that happened, except that I was very, very sad that day and was very open. And then it was the Holy Spirit. I remember when it entered me. It's just like in the New Testament. It says that the Holy Spirit, lest I go, the Holy Spirit will not be able to come. And that's what happened. Holy Spirit comes in. It's female. It's feminine. And it begins to do housekeeping. I mean, that's what I needed. I desperately needed some housekeeping.
Bit of
And
dusting.
I had, it took me 20 years to find out what had happened to me when I was a child. Another 20 years to find out that my father, who was an inorganic chemist, PhD, taught at University of Missouri, that he was Navy intelligence all my
Wow.
life. And his records were sealed unto perpetuity in Washington, D.C. You can never read them. He did such top secret work
Wow.
for military. So it turned out that my whole destiny of trying to look under the rug and in the basement of, to see what the heck happened to America, land of the Bill of Rights, and to find out the real reason I was driven to do all this work was not just that I had tea with President Kennedy in the Rose Garden 4 months before he was murdered, but was also because my father was completely wrecked by the U.S. Navy. And he had then totally wrecked me, and maybe some other people that I don't know of. So, that this drives your destiny, this dark side. And we get back to what Rudolf Steiner said, and I took him at his word, that the primary thing that anthroposophists must do in the 21st century is to expose evil by naming it. And that's exactly what I have been doing for 40 some years now. It's all I live for. It's my mission. And then meanwhile, I was a Waldorf teacher. I used to help start Waldorf schools so children could have a better childhood than I had in all those special programs that I was
Hmm.
in. And that's about it. I mean, Rudolf Steiner is my trail guide, and I'm so grateful for him.
Do you connect with
And
him on occasion? Do you feel him coming in, or do you have any? Have you had any other experiences like that one that day?
no, regarding Christ, which is different from Rudolf Steiner, though some people probably don't know that, um, Christ is ever present, or whatever it is. I don't really know. I mean, I believe it's Christ, but is it the Holy Spirit? Is it God? Is it, who knows? Is it dead people that now know the truth once they're on the other side? Or I don't really know. It doesn't really matter. But I was on a radio interview recently where they asked me what I do when I lose my way. Well, I just don't lose my way.
Mm.
I know exactly what I'm doing. And do I think it comes from Elana? No, I don't. I don't think it comes from Elana at all. But I am a willing participant of my marching orders.
Mm.
That's how I.
Do you have any? And have you had any other kind of experiences of the monk? Your past life as a monk? Has that had any dreams about that or anything?
Well, as young as you are, in the 60s, I would say that I was involved with the vanguard of the 60s, or some people in the vanguard. There's always a vanguard in humanity of every major epoch. And that vanguard is the one that drags everyone else behind it with their own effort and their own reincarnation knowledge from all the lifetimes they've lived. And now, they're bringing it to bear upon this time that they chose to be born into, a time of conflict, a time of struggle. I mean, think about my generation. We went through all three of our heroes, John Kennedy, Robert Kennedy, Martin Luther King, were all murdered on television before our faces. And then they killed all our rock stars, just killed them and lied about it all the time. I mean, it was a time of massive struggle, massive. No one will ever know. I mean, Newsweek and Time Magazine, making NBC and CBS make it sound like it was all about sex, drugs, and rock and roll. It was not. It was political, and it was spiritual. And we had amazing, deep discussions into all night long sometimes, just talking about life and what is going on here and what is important, and going to Ingmar Bergman films and coming out of them and analyzing them for hours at cheap coffee shops. I mean, it was the best. It was the best, because I have had to live in loneliness ever since, because Americans are they're just mind controlled.
What's happened to that generation? What's happened to your generation that lived that with you through that time? Are they not connected anymore?
I think we've lost a lot, because who, if they kept taking drugs, this is my opinion, and smoking pot. A lot of people don't think pot is a drug. It is a drug. Come on. I stopped everything at 21. I wanted my own consciousness.
Yeah.
I wanted my own consciousness. And I have gotten it. I had no idea how to do it. And I got it at 25. That's pretty young. But then it took me most of my life to figure out what happened to me, right? Figure out how to use it, how to get my tools back together and all that. So the ones that we lost, a lot of them were just kids who, they were behind the vanguard and we were dragging them behind us. But by then the CIA and the FBI and COINTELPRO had taken over all the streets and all the drugs, and were pumping bad drugs into the streets and destroying my generation, which was the largest generation in history. People don't know that. It was huge, because it was a post-war generation, and those are generally quite large. But in this case, it was the biggest generation ever. And they were just knocking us down, similar to what they're doing to everybody now. And so,
do you think the spiritual war started then? Then you said it kind of begins in 1932. The Christ kind of consciousness, kind of re-entering into the ether or whatever. But do you think the kind of that spiritual war began really in the late 50s, 60s then?
Well, this phase of the second coming of the second coming war, yeah. But I mean, Hitler, that was a big war. And that was a legitimate war. I mean, we consider it, the history books say that was a war. They don't say it was an occult war. But I think I would go back to 1932 as the beginning of the war that then changed its face in America in the 60s. Not the Beats so much, the Beatniks, the Beat generation before my generation with Jack Kerouac and those guys. But now we come to another generation, no TV still, very little television, very important. Some of those kids that I was with in the 60s, they had TVs in their homes. I never had. I didn't watch TV. We were too poor. We didn't have a TV. And it's television that's destroyed youth today. Absolutely television It's the worst. But back to your question of what happened to my generation, then all the ones who were smart, we were, the ones I hung out with, a lot were PhDs who had finally realized the game of the university system and had chucked it and had come out into the real place where things were happening. They eventually, if they were still taking drugs in particular, they eventually became stockbrokers and, started putting their great intelligence and their Renaissance person type abilities to make money for themselves. And they settled down, and no, that was all youthful, Elana. That was not, that's not life. And some of us, like me, I know we're very few who have continued and have sort of built our life on our ideals
Yeah.
in imperfect ways, imperfect. And, I've helped start four Waldorf schools. I was able to do that work, hundreds of lectures, hundreds of workshops for people to quicken that spiritual impulse in parents to bring their children so they could have this wonderful education from Rudolf Steiner, etc. But a lot of my generation kind of fell prey to what was already there to gobble them up, is how I look at it. So that's as it is, as it always is. That very few can go through the fire and keep going. Why me? Well, I just told you why. I had the etheric Christ experience. I had that dark past with my father. I had, family karma that I was trying to help out with by developing myself, and I never hated my father, by the way. He was as caught as he made sure I was.
Did you ever find out any of the stuff that he was involved in at all from relatives or mum or?
Nothing. No. Relatives didn't know anything. I mean, these guys, these intelligence guys, never tell anything about what they're doing. No, these were much simpler people than I, and of course they don't even believe me about what happened with him. But it doesn't matter, does it? You say the word of truth, and you've said it, and it certainly helped him, and it definitely helped me. So, so
There's
that
definitely
whole
some kind of
idea.
there's definitely some kind of soul journey kind of interesting kind of pact going on there, isn't it? With him being in the intelligence services and you being on this path now, that's no coincidence.
No
There's something
coincidence.
there, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, if you listen little, and I'm Romanian, remember, my mother and her parents raised me while my mother worked hard. We left my father when I was 3 because he was very abusive to her and would be to me in a very short time. So, we stayed in the Eastern European neighborhood in Detroit, Michigan. It was 5 square blocks of Eastern Europeans. Another fantastic destiny thing for me, where you hear 6 languages a day. I'm a total wordsmith. I write, I speak. It's very well aspected in my chart, as they say. But that neighborhood was so strengthening because Eastern Europeans are very different from Western European derived people. They're mystics. They love music. They love laughter. They suffer deeply. They love children. They take care of their children. I mean, they're so different. And I had that wonderful 8 years there, 7 years in the neighborhood before I hit America. And then finally, my mother and I left the neighborhood, and I encountered New York City and America, and it was like pretty shocking.
That's my experience of Eastern Europeans as well. I know quite a lot of Polish people in the UK, and half of them are healers or women whisperers, or they're astrologers. They have something to do. Each one of them has some interest, some kind of interest in kind of the metaphysical world. None of them are just straightforward human beings, but you get more straightforward human beings amongst British people, in my experience, weirdly. But that's just a
Yes, Well, no, the British, yeah, they're very straightforward is a good word to use, but very materialistic the way they are
Yeah,
now.
they're in the materialistic. I mean, the last kind of 100, 200 years of empire of theirs, it's been all about materialistic science, isn't it? It's like everything spiritual has been pushed out of the picture. Religion
Well,
is
wait a
religion has been mocked totally for the last 50 years in
Yeah, but
popular
wait a minute.
culture.
There's a whole other realm that I'm referring to that is materialistic in UK, which are the occultists there.
Mm.
Oh, and they're very spiritual. They are very spiritual in a dark, destructive way.
Mm.
And they are ruthless in their materialism. I mean, I have known a couple. And so that, yeah, they're making fun of, everybody else is makes fun of Christians and Christianity and anything where there's kindness, forgiveness, all these sort of things that have to do with Christ. But,
Weaknesses.
what they're all considered weaknesses.
Mm.
Exactly. So in that sense, UK brought a whole new meaning to me of see Americans aren't like that. They're careless and childish, I should say, and don't take things seriously and don't have very deep thought forms. Most Americans, but they're very practical in their way of thinking, like the Brits. They're take care of business and have the car clean and that sort of thing. But as far as spirituality, their Christianity, for example, ends up being very sweet Jesus, and asking for this, that, and the other in every prayer and that sort of thing. So the spirituality here is very childish, I would have to say. But sometimes you meet some really deep Christians, for example. I don't meet many people at all because I'm a writer. I was in lockdown before the lockdown happened. I mean, you can't get books written unless you're willing to spend thousands and thousands of hours alone. So the remember that though you're talking about materialism, yes, and we both agree on some of it, but some of it you don't know how the dark side. They are very real and they are ruthless, and their materialism makes a regular materialist look like a kindergartner, because they know how to use materialism in a way that is brutal to the human spirit. And of course, the human spirit is also sort of it's like the word love. I love peanut butter, I love you, I love God, I love my country. It sort of means nothing anymore. In a way, that's what the word spirit has become too, unfortunately, because spirit and soul are not the same thing. They are not the same thing.
Mm.
And it just seems that most people are not willing to make that the journey to figure things spiritually out.
Mm.
Now that seems a life worth living, rather than making a big pile of money and I mean we're both on the same page there, but
Do you think the United Kingdom's the head of the snake when it comes to the dark cabal that are in control to some extent?
over the last few centuries, absolutely. And I think most of Europe would agree with me. I mean, it is considered, when I was on the continent, just going here and there for various things, again and again, people told me that UK was the pedophile capital, and that they hated the abuse that went on in the UK, and it's absolutely true. I think
Mm.
it is the pedophile capital, and I think that this country has learned a great deal from them about it. Not to say that Europeans on the continent are not also captured into this terrible thing, this satanic activity of using children's blood and ritual deaths and things. It's a horror. I mean, there's your materialism that is
Mm.
really abominable. But in Britain, it's considered part of the public school system. The public schools being what we call private here. The elite schools. Yeah, it's just part of it. You just go there to be pedophiled and to be prepared to for power, for the horrors of power, of exercising power in the ruling class. This makes
Do you think the participants that like in each side of the Atlantic or around the world that are part of this kind of cabal power structure, do you think that they're aware of what they're doing, that it's actually kind of satanic and evil, or do you think they think it's just some kind of ritualistic program that they're part of, like, it's more kind of for show, more kind of theatrical, and it's just they're just initiations, or do you think that they actually understand that they're bringing in forces and connecting with dark
well,
energy?
notice the way you're putting your thought together, and this is a problem in the West. We have this either or paradigm.
Okay.
No, it's both and. It's both and. Those who are the lower ranks are brought in through maybe banking or some sort of money venture, and I mean that guy who came and did that fabulous true confession of what he had been through, Ronald, I can't remember his last name.
The Dutch guy.
The Dutch guy, yeah. You watch that a few times and you see how it works. They brought him in. You want to make money. Yeah, I want to make money. You're going to have to put your conscience in the freezer. Oh, no problem. No problem. And then he puts his conscience in the freezer. He makes a pile of money. And then finally they say, well, it looks like he's going along. So let's take him to the next rung. And they bring him to the ritual chamber where they kill a baby in front of him. And so the blood runs into a cup for the very elite up front. And then they murder this baby and then eat it. And he's destroyed because he put his conscience on ice. But what is the conscience? The conscience is an amazing part of us that everyone seems to take for granted. I don't know why. I'm 75 years old. I still think it's amazing that this little voice of the good, the true, and the beautiful still is in me and says, no, you don't want to do that. And what I've learned in my sagacity is do what your conscience says. Don't ever go against it. No matter how you have this ratiocination of ways to get around it, and you think that and oh, that's all nonsense. That's childish. And no. I do what my conscience tells me because it's always right. And I love that. I love his confessions because he really saw what evil does. And does it make sense to us that they would target children? Oh, yes. It makes perfect sense. As Jesus said, if you should cause one of these little ones to stumble, you should tie a millstone to your neck and throw yourself into the sea. That's what one. And look what they're doing.
Yeah. More than one, that's for sure, isn't it? It's a great deal more than one. So where do you think we are at the moment then? Just to jump a bit, let's just on that subject. Like, where do you think we are now in this world struggle between good and evil? I mean, that's what it is, isn't it? Isn't it a spiritual war we're in now? This is the war for the soul. It's the war for the human soul, isn't it? That's how I feel.
It is, and it's the first time that the masses, that more and more of the masses, not all the masses, but many of the masses are now awakening over this whole trial that we're still in it. We're still deeply, deeply in it. But you can see them beginning to wake up to, it's the first time in history that we have actually looked at the masters that have been running this world for thousands of years, not just the Europeans, but the Europeans have played a big role in it recently. These dynasty, bloodline, whatever they are, whether they're reptilians or just nasty people that have made some deal with some sort of devil, uh, and then they have these children that come into them through their bloodlines, and then they condition them. I've actually known two of them quite well to get their story, and it's a horror. It's a horror, their childhoods. Uh, this is the first time that the masses have risen up against it and said, "We're tired of this. We're tired of you doing this, and we want out." Now, do we know how to get out? Are we smart enough? Are we going to, ally ourselves with each other in order to work as a team? And probably not. But this is the most in your face I have ever seen the globalists. Of all the years I've studied them to figure out my enemy, this is the most overtly arrogant, like Klaus Schwab with his "you'll own nothing and be happy," and then his henchman that works for him, whatever his name is, I always forget. Film casting could not have cast someone better for this role of a diabolical assistant, who says things like, that there is no God, but we're about to create it. The whole thing is so overt. And it's almost like the divine world is saying, "You see? Come on now. Come on now. What part of you is responding to this? How do you like this? Are you willing to stand up for what you believe? Or are you just going to let them mow you down again?" It's very exciting. I'm so thrilled that I lived long enough to be here for this. I didn't think it was going to come in my lifetime.
Isn't it divinely perfect? I was saying this to Andy Thomas this morning, the guy I chatted to for a couple of hours, that isn't this divine kind of perfect divinity that this is the way to wake people up, because otherwise they would never have woken up. It has to get really bad for it to get really good. Otherwise, how much? I'm in my 50s, so I've experienced maybe 30 years of looking and studying and reading and listening to people, and and knowing something was deeply wrong, and experiencing 9/11, and knowing about JFK and looking into that and reading books on it, and all of those conspiratorial kind of like narratives since. But this is the one that's kind of, and like 4 years ago, you could only speak to like a handful of people about anything metaphysical or kind of, conspiratorial or kind of secret government, MK Ultra, all of that kind of stuff. Now you find quite a few people to speak to. The numbers have grown.
More.
My social circle has expanded now. Suddenly I've got some friends that I can bring together, and I've had, through the lockdown here in the UK, I had lots of gatherings. I had gatherings of 70, 80 people, and they were like all like-minded, and no one was caring about what was being told what to do. They were like just coming together, and it gave me a chance to get those people together, and those numbers expanded. So is it something that is just has to be, isn't it? Isn't it just kind of perfect, the way it's unraveling?
Yes.
As horrible as it is, otherwise, how are we going to find out? How many people I've heard talking about now about, adrenochrome and child sacrifice and children in tunnels? I never heard anyone talking about that before. I was aware of it. I was aware of like paedophilia, and the circles and the international kind of aspects of it. But I never heard the everyday people chatting about that kind of stuff. Never. It just didn't happen. Now you can almost bump into someone at a bus stop, and it'll be within 5, and it happens to me quite often. People just suddenly go blah, 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 and tell me loads of stuff. I'm one of those people that people like to tell stories to often.
Yeah, but where do you live?
In London.
Well, of course, in London, you're going to meet those people. Do you think I'm meeting those people in Olympia, Washington?
I don't know what Olympia, Washington's like.
Everyone here is completely programmed by their TV and their cell phones. Everyone is completely controlled, and their faces are sort of blank, and their presence it's almost like they're not there. So I'm having a very different experience. You're in London. I have a friend in London who calls me now and then. She's a targeted individual, so she'll call me just to get sanity. But generally speaking, yeah, I've lived in London. It's a tremendously exciting city with much diversity. So
Don't get
doing
me wrong though.
programming,
We have those blank faced people as well, and there's millions of
yeah,
them.
I know, but the programming there has to be done very differently than the programming here. Here, it can be done entirely regionally, believe it or not. And this is where we get into geoengineering. Why do you think I'm writing all these books on geoengineering? Because it's being used for programming of people and controlling people's minds and souls. So here you can do one type of programming, just pulse in a frequency for complacency, pulse, 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 for what? How big? Maybe 100, 150 miles in the diameter, and yeah, everybody is pretty much like the guy next door. Now, maybe Elana is not going to fall so easily into that because Elana has spent years and years developing her consciousness until it is a force to be reckoned with. Yes, that's the difference. That's the only difference. Otherwise, I'm as subject to the things going on in the region I'm in as anyone else. And so, that's the thing that is new, is that this mind control is going to come through HARP and all of these frequency control technologies that will be pulsed, pulse, 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 and whether it's 50 or 500 gigahertz or it's some other frequency. This is going to be our big challenge. So when you were getting all rosy about how great it is now, and I was afraid you were going to say, and now we're all going to wake up and it's not going to be like it used to be. Well, it's not. I can't go that far, but I
No.
can say that I think we can go pretty far for now because people were really, really asleep before,
Yeah,
and now
that's what I'm
they're more
saying.
awake.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's more. We're still minority, obviously, but there's more of us now. It's a bigger minority than it once was.
Vanguard. It's the Vanguard, and I told you how it works. You make sure that you've got a vanguard of change. That's why we all, like you and me and everybody else is like us. That's why we need to keep pushing, 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 and not like take a vacation or something. Somebody this summer said, Lana, don't you ever take a vacation? Vacation? No, I don't want a vacation. So that idea of the phalanx, just bear down like the what is that movie?
Romans, is it the
Like the
Romans?
300, the Spartans.
No, the Spartans.
You
Yeah,
get small, very self-disciplined group, a very small, like I feel I'm a small self-disciplined group, and it's pretty powerful.
but there are
Yeah,
lots of great voices in America as well. Though it's not like we listen to a lot of them here. I mean, you got Robert Kennedy, and
yes,
leading the charge. And I think there's
he's
something
really
really
great,
special about the Kennedy family. There's something like
very special.
to know their their incarnation history would be amazing, and where they come from, and something is incredible is going on there, though, isn't it? That they have that lineage and that fight within
They have a
them.
bloodline.
It's
Absolutely.
incredible, but it's
Yeah.
almost like it's the opposite. It's like the Enel and Inky kind of story. And with
No,
like
it's
what?
the good people, good
Yeah, they're the good. Yeah,
bloodline.
so there are some brilliant people in the States as well. We listen to them over here, and I guess there's brilliant people. There's even good people in the European Parliament fighting, and Christine Anderson, I think, is one of them, just speaking out against the rest of the EU now, and about against Pfizer and against all what's gone on. But
Oh, it's wonderful.
yeah, it's great. It's it lifts the heart, just to see, especially if they've got a bit of power and they've got a bit of clout. Then suddenly it's like, oh, I'm not alone. It's just not just us and the other 300 people I know, kind of.
But don't fall for the numbers. Don't just think of the numbers and the clout. People is the really what I keep in mind is, and why I go on podcasts like yours and all sorts of people's whom I don't know. Uh, it's also about the individuals out there. They have souls. They are involved in their incarnation. They are developing. It's the human evolution now that is really at stake, because this latest vax thing has everything to do with a transhuman generation now being brought in. The very first transhuman generation is underway, and they will be here, and I will keep my eyes open to see what they are like, because they are no longer human. Their genetics will be different. And so this could be, that's when I got, well, I'm always pretty busy, but that's when I really got busy, was when I realized that the human genome could feasibly be gain of function so much that that there will be no human beings. And what will happen to all the equipment of the soul, the etheric body, the astral body, the ego, the I am, all these parts of us that are very much involved in our spiritual evolution, are these creeps that are working at these biolabs, who know next to nothing, but they work for masters who are probably very sophisticated black magician occultists of one degree or another. Are they destroying humanity so that they can have an alternate transhuman race? Yes, a race of slaves, but also the reason they want it so bad is they want this planet to be theirs, and they are resisting this second coming thing. They are resisting the divine world and what the divine world has in mind for humanity, the greatness, the apotheosis of humanity. I mean, we are, Steiner called humanity the religion of the gods. Why? Because we are developing free will while living in material bodies. It's not easy. It is not easy to live in a material world. Just like Madonna sang back in the 80s, it is not easy to live in a material world and be a spiritual being with power, with true power, love power, good power. So, I want us to be able to decide what we're doing. I do not want us all to be programmed. I do not want us all on an electromagnetic leash and being told what to do all the time, a slave class. But that is certainly what this first transhuman generation is going to be, is primarily a slave class.
So do you?
It's serious.
Yeah,
Very
yeah.
serious.
It's
It's
very, of
underway
course,
right
it is
now.
very serious. I know, yeah, it is. It takes a lot of willpower to stay on a kind of on a path, and to stay kind of sane, and to control to not be triggered. I have to admit myself that as much as I've been like reprogramming myself for a number of years now, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't take drugs, I haven't had a TV in the house for over 22 years. Lots of stuff I've done, and that's apart from like reading and everything else. I still get triggered. It can happen. Jesus turned the tables over in the temple. When there's when it's a beautiful blue sky, and I'm feeling good, and I'm feeling like the frequencies are not, I'm very sensitive to the frequencies, what's being emitted, and I feel it in my joints, and I feel it in my neck, and everywhere else, and the ringing in the ears. There's lots of signs that you pick up on, but then suddenly you
Yeah.
see the grids just start coming over, and the planes start flying everywhere, and that can really just switch me. It can so easily switch me into and trigger me into anger mode, especially because you feel so alone with that. So many people, they're not looking, they don't have any interest. Even people that have awoken in the last 2 or 3 years because of the kind of medical tyranny, because of they've realised that the vaccines are damaging people, killing people. Even lots of established medical experts are saying we've looked inside the vaccine and we've found nanobots rearranging particles and making stuff.
Yeah.
And this is like witchery. We don't know this technology. We didn't even know it existed on this planet. So you
Yeah.
feel so,
It is witchery.
yeah, it is witchery. It's like it is. It's. I mean, it was. I can't remember who it was now. The science fiction writer who wrote that advanced technology there's no difference between that and magic.
Arthur C.
Arthur C.
Clarke.
Clarke. That's
Yeah.
it. Yeah, Arthur C.
So so yes, okay, let's talk about your being triggered. That's a very valuable thing to learn. Okay, so there are certain things that trigger you on certain days. And immediately it's as though you fall into a crevasse. There's sort of an open space and you just kind of fall. And then you kind of have to, hobble your way out and find your way back to, okay, that never happens to me. Never. I never lose, and it isn't that I'm bragging, it's that I am sustained by something that's living inside me that is beautiful and true and good. I always use that Greek ideal because Steiner is very, very attached to that in the Waldorf curriculum. So you have this. All right, so you're going to look at yourself the next time it happens, and you're going to first of all figure out, okay, that what was it that triggered it, and what came up? Was it fear? Well, in males, it's generally anger because that's how males do fear. Truthfully, it's not. It's just a disguise. It's a disguised as anger, but it's really fear because males can't admit that they're afraid. That's not allowed in this culture. So the fear comes up. Consider the fear a demon, just, with your imagination. It's a demonic presence. It's a demon. It takes advantage. You've given it a gap. It jumps in. There are entities all around us, says Rudolf Steiner. It's fortunate we can't see them because we would be incredibly distracted and we wouldn't get nearly stuff done that we need to get done in life. So we can't see them. We have a very, very narrow electromagnetic spectrum visual range, as you know, extremely. And yet we've got gamma rays way at the other end, and we've got radio waves down here. We can't see any of it. But now the bad guys, that includes the geoengineers that work for the bad guys, they have figured out how to use the full spectrum, the entire spectrum for control. And so they have the instruments by which they can see all these entities. And they know all about that. Let me tell you, maybe not the guy who's up on the pole, with his tool belt on, but the guys at the top, oh yeah, they know because they've got all this cool equipment. They can just put those wonderful $3,000 night vision goggles on with infrared and see tons of them and see them going in and out of people's bodies. They're everywhere. They're everywhere. All right, so your challenge is how to keep them out of your body and out of your mind and your soul. And so the first step is they exist and they're waiting for an opportunity because those demons or beings or entities, whatever you want to call them, they love human light. It's like chocolate mousse for them. I mean, it's the best. And they will jump in anywhere they can. Have they had a feast the last 3 years that the mainstream media have been making everybody afraid of everything and everyone? Oh yeah, this has been very yum for them. So we who are the soldiers on the front lines, which I consider you, anyone who gives up TV is in my platoon as far as I'm concerned, because we are the soldiers, the ones on the front line. You have to give up TV in order to be one of those. You cannot be dependable if you keep watching that mind control device. So we're on the front lines. We support each other. We have differences, yes, we all operate differently, but we support each other. And we don't fall into bickering and silliness that the demonic just loves to get you all confused and you hate so-and-so and you don't like this and you don't like that. No, this is all for the fight. We are in the fight. And everything that has nothing to do with the fight falls to the wayside because you're a special forces team kind of guy. So that's what I recommend is figure that out. And if you want me to, I have a prayer to die for that is from I think it's from the 1700s or maybe much further back. It's the St. Patrick prayer. You can find it on the net at Tara Today in This Fateful Hour. I place all heaven with its power, and the sun with its brightness, and the snow with its whiteness. And then it goes on, and it goes to the end and says, all these I place by God's almighty help and grace between myself and the powers of darkness. Boom! Done. Done. Those
What's the
little
name of that?
guys,
What's the name of that prayer then?
the St. Patrick's, I think. I think it's
St.
called St.
Patrick's.
Patrick's Prayer. I just sent it to someone to help them because they have the same problem you have, or a similar problem.
You know, my problem that I mean, not this is supposed to be a kind of personal therapy interview, but I've no problems at all talking about myself and my journey and stuff. But
No.
I've had entity after entity on me for the and it started about. Obviously, it's probably been going on beforehand, but this is all part of your own dragging you back to spiritual kind of path. That's how I see it as well. For the last 3 years, right at just before this all started, this whole epoch of kind of pandemic, they started coming in this house. I've got a couple of portals. I've got one right next to me here, and then sometimes I've been sitting in this room meditating, doing a Merkaba meditation, and I hear a crack like something opening, and then I feel it jump on me like an electromagnetic wave. It's like electricity. It's like being tasered, and
Yeah, yeah.
they're on you. They're either, and sometimes you can push them off. Sometimes I use a pendulum to get them off. I've got a lady on the other side of the UK who does it remotely for me. She's removed probably about 500, I would imagine. It's been like a party on me sometimes, and you can feel it. You lift. And now I've learned techniques, and I've learned. I've got over a lot of the fear. And really, the fear is that you're right. The fear is the key. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the control mechanism. When there's no
It's
fear,
what they look.
you kind of win when there's no fear. That's how I perceive
Well,
it.
and it's fear and sex. Those two are the big draws for them. But what have you asked them what they want? What does it want from you?
I have asked that. I've asked, I've been like when it was really bad and I was in a state of fear because they were just what had happened is that they wouldn't let me sleep. So they'd wake me up and keep me awake all night. So then I started kind of praying and I tried all the classic stuff and burning sage, which is like, it's like lighting a cigarette basically and blowing it in their face. Doesn't really work. It helps to clear energies, but it doesn't really do anything. In
Well,
the
it
end,
depends on.
you need a really good
But
practitioner.
are you sure you're not being targeted with electromagnetic weapons
I
and they're
don't
using
know.
a demon?
That's possible. That's possible because when I was making stuff, you know who David Icke is, clearly, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's got his platform, Iconic, which is his kind of internet place. I used to be a comedian, and another current comedian, me and him were making a show for the Iconic platform right at the height of the pandemic. I was doing Klaus Schwab puppets and all kinds of stuff, and then I started getting problems around my throat chakra, and that went on for months, and pains and weird shit happening. Excuse my language. It could have been targeting. I thought it was kind of spiritual targeting, but I guess that's probably one and the same thing. If they send spiritual forces
Well,
after you, I
it's
don't know.
not the same thing, but there's a certain pattern people follow who, believe it or not, I'm in touch with a lot of targeted individuals, and I know about the technology is why I'm in touch with them. I know how it's done, and it takes them a while to realize they're actually being electromagnetically targeted because these guys who do it and who have the equipment that they lease out or they're using themselves or they have access to AI systems that are very sophisticated, they can make it seem like it's spiritual. It's the guy next door who's doing it to you. They can make it seem like the genesis of it, the origin of it, is anywhere but from the government, which normally oversees this equipment, but also doles it out through private security corporations so that, you can't blame the government. And so this is going on hugely in the United States, and I know it's going on in UK because I used to, when I lived there for 3 years, I had met people all, it seemed like all the time, that who were being targeted, and yet they knew it. They knew they were being targeted by the government. So you might consider that, but at the same time, it's again not the either or. It's probably a both and, because a lot of this technology utilizing electromagnetics is a very easy way for the demonic to ride in, as an MK Ultra survivor friend of mine says, to ride into you on this wave that is being projected into you through targeters. So I would consider both possibilities. The reason I told you that prayer was not for you to just read it and think, oh, that's cool. No, I think you should commit it to memory and use it when you need it. But you've got to have it memorized. And why? Because your etheric body is your body of memory. And you put it into the etheric body. And now you have what Paul calls in the New Testament the breastplate of whatever, faith or whatever. That's the etheric he's talking about. You need things that feed the etheric, because that's what they're after, is to suck the light out of you and destroy your humanity. I mean, this is real war, and I think in a way what has made it the war so obvious is not the lockdown, but maybe it's because I know so much about electromagnetics, but it's the electromagnetics. I mean, it's wireless everywhere. This is they need it for the secret space program, and they don't care about us. They don't care about, all that will happen is most of us will go to doctors and go to hospitals and make them rich. And in hospitals, it's all 5G. So then they can set you up for programming right there. They can set you up for targeting right in the hospital. I mean, I consider hospitals, whether they're NHS hospitals or private hospitals, does not matter in the least. The question is, are they 5G systems? Yes, they are, because all that fancy stuff that Western medicine is so obsessed with, to use for, operations and this and that and breathing. That's all has to be run on big systems, high-powered systems. So to me, going to a hospital is like going to a murder den or something. It's like, I pray every day, protect me so I do not have any accidents or anything where I have to go to a hospital. Because I did have one experience which showed me that, yeah, I'm right on the money on this. And I don't want to go into that, but it has to do with the Freemasons. Yes, it does. In my town.
A lot of people are having those experiences in hospitals, especially in America with remdesivir and being put on ventilators, killing 9 out of 10. I mean, that is just so horrific. It's just, they are places of murder now, sadly. But I've got another. Just to touch upon what you're saying about being targeted individuals. I've never thought of myself as a targeted individual. I thought I'm probably on a list, and there's probably lists of like varying kind of categories and levels, and there's people who are like right at the top of that, and then there's another big bunch, and then there's another strata down the bottom of troublemakers and people who are thinking too much for themselves. But this is something that happened to me twice, and this was really quite strange. I got woken up. Something woke me up about 3 o'clock in the morning, and I was receiving a telepathic message or a transmission, not in my ears, but in the middle of my brain, which was the first time I'd ever experienced anything telepathic. And it was a robotic voice. And it was, and I could do quite an accurate impression of it. It was a bit like a kind of, it sounded like a machine code or like AI voice. It also sounded like the kind of search droid in Star Wars, I remember from when I was a kid. So I got out of bed and it was still there. So, I knew it was in my head, but I opened the window to see if there was any vans out there or anything. I couldn't see anything. And then it just ended about 15 seconds later. A couple of weeks later, I got woken up again. Something woke me up almost to hear it. And this time it was the same kind of robotic AI type voice. And then it ended with like a 3-note transmission kind of end, like dee doo doo. And I thought to myself, am I picking up something that's been transmitted to me? Or am I picking up a general kind of program that's been sent out, but maybe via mobile phone masks? Because I read in Nexus many years ago about an expert, telecommunications expert, really kind of high end in his field, saying that he detected transmissions coming out of mobile phone masts that had nothing to do with the phone call system, and he detected them, and they were like a constant happening. So like, I've always had that in the back of my mind. Are they using that to kind of program people? And then I wondered, through my own experience of those two kind of robotic voice transmissions, is that what I picked up on? Did someone or something wake me up to experience it? So I don't know, have you
Well,
heard
to
of anything like
see,
that?
oh, all the time, all the time. That is not unusual at all. Especially, it seems to me, with males. I don't know. I still haven't figured out this difference between males and females, but the programming is completely different. And I don't know if it has to do with testosterone or what, but does the male does the male consciousness work differently from the female consciousness? Well, it certainly does. But anyway, regarding this, you could be right that it could be, because see, when you're determining where it's coming from, you have to go through a period where, with an open mind, you're thinking, well, it could be that they're sending out a random signal and seeing who responds to it. Now, how would they see that? Well, that's not hard with all the satellites up now. It's very easy for them to say they're looking, say they don't have your exact brain frequency. They call the evoked potential. Say they don't have it, but they're looking for it. So they send a variety of signals down. Say that's part of what would be going on. In your case, it's that you had a big time gap between these two times. And so I would pretty much discount that idea. Now, maybe it was for your neighbor. And now, that it's come across your bed and you've been awakened. Somehow you have responded to that signal imperative. And maybe it's because it sounded loud in your head. Maybe it's because it was the frequency of the signal. So they're kind of hunting around to see what's going on. The thing that makes me think that those are connected to these entities that you keep experiencing is that that also fits with the pattern that they're sort of seeing what they can do with you. Because you are not like, I mean, you're in your 50s. This hasn't been going on that long. So,
No, no.
yeah. So, did you have many drugs when you were younger?
I smoked a lot of weed. I had
Okay.
periods of hard drugs, but not like extended years of it.
No, no, hard drugs is not the problem. No, the weed is good enough. So your etheric body probably is what I call Swiss cheese. It's got a lot of holes in it, and you would need to do things like that prayer I just gave you, or I don't know. There's lots of things you can do to begin to repair those holes,
Yeah.
because I maintain that these entities will not be drawn to you at all if they have no access to you. And the access will come through the etheric in 9 out of 10 cases, because most people's etheric bodies are damaged. Like mine was damaged by what my father did to me. So I had to fix that for years, to find ways to fix it so that I would not be yum yum for predatory men, for one thing, who are probably filled with demons of some sort, uh, and demons, and whatever else is around that's looking for someone who's leaking light. They want that. They want that light. So that's my insight. I don't know who this person is. I don't trust channelers, by the way, and I don't deal with those people because I'm not sure that it's not Langley, Virginia, or in your case, it'd be MI6. I'm not sure where their channeling is coming from, even if it's helping you in the short run. Will it be helping you in the long run? See, I am very suspicious of just about everything that's technological. That seems like it could be technological.
I've thought about, just on just going by what you said there. When people are receiving their kind of transmissions from the Pleiadians, for example, or from the Arcturians, or from the whatever it may be, are they just picking up a signal that's been beamed to them from like a letter agency? I have thought that because I've watched some of these channelers, out of interest. I don't really follow any, but some of them I listen to now and again because they seem my instinct, which I tend to follow. Like your conscious self that you said you should never ignore. Some of them seem more genuine than others, and I'm sure there are people who can connect to spirit. That's absolutely true, I believe. But I think for every one of them, there's probably 50 charlatans or 49 people making it up just to get money.
Well, yeah, and in my books, which we haven't talked about, but you should know I wrote, are the Sub Rosa America series, Sub
Yeah, I know
Rosa
about
America
that. Yeah.
Deep State History. That in there, I go thoroughly into the CIA running cults, always, and channelers. And it's so easy to do because ego is involved and everybody wants to feel they have a gift, and there's just so many things that make it very easy. And they're always running that stuff, and that's why a channeler could have the best intent in the world and be the sweetest person in the world, but I don't know where those transmissions are coming from, and therefore I'm not going to be involved in it at all. So I avoid it all. I don't listen to them. I don't know any. I don't want to know any. People have come up to me after talks I've given, and told me blah 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 about my aura, and I thank them and I walk away. In this case, I think the thing to remember is the etheric. It sounds like it has a bunch of holes in it, and that would be what I'd concentrate on. It's just great that you're not doing drugs. It's great that you're not doing TV. And now you need to feed that etheric body something really nourishing. That's where Steiner comes in. I would recommend reading Steiner ideas to anyone. There's nothing in them except a couple of racist comments that he made like back in the early part of the 20th century that people keep reminding me of.
I think they were taken out of context, though, to be honest, because there was a big report.
Taken out of context.
Yeah, there was a big study on that, and it was like shown to be nonsense.
It really is. So anyway, just consider that possibility, because I have been able, through just living a very disciplined sort of pure life, I suppose you'd say. Not that I have a cup of coffee in the morning. I'm a normal person, but I don't allow myself to be subject to really loud music unless it's classical and I'm writing. Sometimes I put classical music on, but to really treat this body as the temple of the living spirit, and I have high aspirations for this soul of mine, and so I'm very willing to keep everything as pure as I can, but to sit down and smoke a cigarette with someone who I don't smoke, but to smoke a cigarette with someone who smokes and they need to tell me something, have a beer with them, I have no trouble with that. It's not like I'm trying to be some sort of saint walking on coals here. It's just that the technology, our bodies are not made for this technology, and our bodies are running on true ether, on orgone, as Wilhelm Reich said. The life force is running through us, and that's why these demons love to yum yum yum, because they want some of that. So we need to take care of this vessel that we only have for a short while, and then we're out of here. Uh, that's kind of how I see it, because I can tell you have a very good heart, and sometimes with people I can tell they don't have a very good heart, and they have a lot of work to do.
I've done a lot. I do a lot. I mean, I do work at it. I
Oh, you
pray.
do. I know. I
I
know.
pray and
Yeah, you.
meditate. I tell them I'm not fit. Sometimes I chase them out of the house, whatever it
But
is. Whether it's a, you know,
make sure when you're meditating that you're not doing that kind of meditation where you leave your body behind with no protection.
mm,
That's very important. And I don't meditate other than I pretty much sort of pray all day. Not in a sort of ostentatious way or a needy way or anything like that. Just a conversation with the divine. Because I'm alone all the time. Uh, but in your case, yeah, I would make sure that your meditation, you do not leave your body unattended. So what does that mean? Well, there are meditations you can do where you stay in the body, but now you're working with the mind. Now, I've heard of those, where not the mantra ones. The mantra is just a phone number to some guru on another plane. And we don't know about that guru, and we don't know that it is the guru. We don't know how that works. So we don't do that one. That's how I look at it. And the ones that, one thing I thought of is sometimes there'll be something that I want to consider. There are the Jesus prayers where you get something from Jesus, some of his words, and you just say it over and over until and you're still here, but you're holding it as a sort of a mantra, but you're considering it. You're thinking about it. You're using your thinking apparatus, which Steiner says is a spiritual activity. You're not trying to get out of your thinking. You're not trying to get out of your body. You're in it, but you're in a meditative state, and it's very simple and very pure. Anyway, that's about all I know. Just you don't want to leave your body, particularly given this problem you're having with the demonic realm, whether it's coming in technologically or not.
I mean, I have had a lot less now. It's gone from kind of like a 10/9 to like a 2 in the last
That's
kind of,
really
yeah. So it is a lot less now. I get one now and again, but it used to be dozens. But I'll get one here, one there. I'll pick up. I'll sense one. Sometimes I I get rid of them myself and I feel them leave. So I don't know whether they're electronic, magnetic, or whether they're kind of spirit realm. There could be a combination, but I guess everything is kind of electricity and magnetic ultimately. Anyway,
yeah,
everything is
but
energy, isn't it?
again, what is electricity and what is magnetism? I mean, now you're getting again into a divine realm, which is sort of negative for the human being. I mean, this prayer, for example, if you just, as long as you're falling into a crevasse at any point, you still have work to do to fill that in. There's something that
Yeah.
uh, is inviting through being absent. There's something, your humanity is not filling that crevasse, so in comes a demonic force which is not human in any way, shape, or form. So you want to have authority over these guys. You don't want to be wasting your time with these guys and then bringing up emotions that are basically from them, not even yours. So
Yeah,
um,
you feel that as well. Your mind can be just thinking, "What are you doing?" and your mouth is just shouting.
no, I know. That's what I'm saying is let's just accept that there are entities that are not human friendly, and they want, and yet they love that human light because it is considered a virile succulent. I don't know. It's like the best. And the other thing I wanted to say is you misquoted me already, which is I did not say the conscience is consciousness. No, the conscience is not consciousness. The conscience is a mysterious voice of the higher self, might be a way to say it, of something higher, something divine, something that we aspire to live out of. I don't know. But the conscience is, you definitely want to obey it. And it's like what Ronald went through when he put his conscience on ice, and then he got it back, and he began to have human emotions again that were, even when he started crying, telling about this horrible moment that he had to witness in this terrible ritual event. That crying that he did was genuine, was genuinely human, was not something that was a show, for example. So the conscience is the gatekeeper to keep us relatively pure. When I was a kid, I used to steal from people. I moved all the time because my life was crazy. By the time I was in 12th grade, I'd been in 16 schools. I'd moved a dozen times, so I was very insecure. And I would take something that I thought the people at the latest place I was staying at didn't need, but I would have to take it. And my conscience said, don't take it. It's not yours. But I would take it anyway because I was so desperate. And that's what I mean, is that I finally got to the point where I filled in that gap in me. That was a very dangerous gap. Could have led to a life of being a crook or, who knows. So to where I didn't need to do that anymore. But I couldn't just say to myself, don't do it. It was too strong. The need was too strong. So I had to work my way through that. And that's what I mean when you see something like what you have, where it only happens once in a while, but it's still disconcerting. And there's no human authority there. Yeah.
Well, it's a continuous battle, isn't it? Life is a continuous kind of struggle. I mean, you've kind of been blessed with, you've got like divine light in your cells. You've got that body, you've got that shield of armor, haven't you? Which is amazing, So the mortals amongst us that kind of still struggling on the journey. I mean, where are other people on this kind of on this line of ascension or kind of evolution where they don't even consider any of this? They're not even consider. Where are they? Where are they? Are they just filled with demonic energies and being sucked off like a succubus all the time?
Or they're young souls and they haven't a clue what they're doing. Have not a clue. I think here on the west coast of the United States, we're loaded with those people. They're just sort of, getting food on the table and going to work and popping out a baby every now and then, and so there are so many different types of souls here. I mean, that's the exciting thing about being on the earth. Is it's not nearly as variegated when you get into the divine world. Everybody's sort of on the same frequency, you might say. It's all sort of humming along, and but here it's like a constant. You're right. I mean, even I, as copacetic as my inner life is, I still have to keep going, and I still have decisions to make that seem really silly. Where I'm like, well, I should or shouldn't do that, and I should or shouldn't with those people, and I should or should. I'm still going through the same human stuff, but I don't lose my way anymore because I'm filled with this divinity, or this Holy Spirit, or whatever, and we're in good shape together. I'm not fighting it. I do what I need to do in order to do the work I have to do.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah. So do you have? I don't want to keep you forever, but I mean, if you're comfortable, if you've got time, I mean, I'm enjoying being in your presence. It's like I'm not a guru, but a clever, a smart human being with a good soul. That's it. That's a good.
Yeah. Someone who's really here.
Yeah,
and I really am here.
And I mean, it's turned into a little bit of a therapy session for me there as well, which is like an added bonus.
Well,
And
it's therapy for your
which
listeners,
I
for your
take all
listeners.
advice, especially from someone like yourself. A lot, I'll absorb all advice because you never stop learning. The process continues on and on. But have you got time to talk for us to get into the geoengineering and stuff? Even a bit.
You want everything at once.
No, I
Um,
don't. Just a little. About what about a taster, and then I'll come back. We'll maybe do it again.
Another time, because I can honestly say to you, I mean, everything we've talked about today is important because we're two awake people
Yeah.
who are taking life seriously, and it's important to meet someone where you have that. I mean, it's so rare. I mean, here in America, it's like so rare. And I've grown accustomed to the fact that I have no friends. Nobody in this town likes me anymore because they all think I'm, my politics. They don't like my politics, whatever those are. And So most of my friendships are meeting people like you online. I mean, that's about it for me. I don't have London to go down and wander around. I mean, my friend that calls me, she lives in Trafalgar Square. So all she needs to do is go down from her 6-story apartment and go down there and meet all kinds of amazing people down there in Trafalgar Square. But, she is a targeted individual and life is not easy for her.
What happened? Can I
But
just ask you then briefly? What happens to her? How does she get targeted? How does that manifest?
well,
Physical ailments.
in her case, I'd say okay. So she's probably my age or somewhere around my age. She's from a certain bloodline, and after we've been talking off and on for I don't know 5-6 years, probably she's been calling me. I've never met her. Uh, I would say that yeah, I think she's right that she is being targeted in a certain way because of her bloodline, because her entire family is being targeted. And they're all aging now. There's like 4 or 5 siblings, all, in their 50s, 60s, 70s. But the targeting goes on. And these are what I call lifelog. That's the lifelog list. The lifelog list is just my term, even though there was once a program run by the CIA called LifeLog. They claim to have discontinued it. I don't think they have, so I use the term. LifeLog is a lifetime experiment on
Right.
people. And I would say that in America, there are probably 1.5 million, I would guess, about 1.5 million people who are on this LifeLog thing. And they might be adding more and more because they need to always test the new equipment because the future is totally about mind control, totally. So in her case, uh, they hit her all night long, and it varies from loud street theater that goes up to her apartment in the summer and when the windows are open, to microwaves where she has burns on her body. Um, but she has this remarkable strength, quite amazing, that she just endures, and she does go to her doctor through the NHS, and just to make sure the doctor records certain events that happened, so that there's a record. And her doctor is a very nice Indian woman who writes it down exactly as my friend says. So otherwise, she calls me once in a great while, and she probably has other people she calls. And then she'll go out in the street, and she's a Rudolf Steiner person. She'll go to the Steiner house there near Trafalgar for an event to hear a speaker or whatever. But none of them want to hear about targeting. None of them. She can't talk to any of them about this. So I've become a little too valuable to her, and I have to, tell her no, I can't keep talking, and etc. So, but she she laughs, and oh, I don't take them seriously. They don't know what they're doing, and they're completely lost, and I don't know what they're going to do when they don't have me anymore, when they've killed me, and it's over. This is how she does it, and it's really genuine. It's she doesn't complain. Um, she just keeps going. And how long is this now? Well, it's got to be at least 7 or 8 years. So that's every day, every night. And there are sometimes people who live around her, like there's a guy upstairs now, and there's someone below her, and then there's someone over here, and someone over here, and then someone in the apartment across the way. And they all seem to be sort of gaslighting her, watching her when she goes out, bumping into her in the elevator, whatever. And she just keeps going. And she thinks the other reason it's happening is somebody wants her to move out of that apartment. And they don't want to kill her to do it, to get her to go out. Because it's a very nice, I guess it's a very nice apartment there in Trafalgar Square on the 6th floor, where they could make a lot more money than the rent control amount she pays. Or maybe she owns the apartment. I think she owns it. So anyway,
it's a
that's
mad
her
story, isn't it? That's quite a mad kind of. Yeah, I mean, I can imagine a psychologist immediately saying this is all happening in your mind, and you're imagining these. Not that I'm saying that, but that's how I imagine if I went with that
Well, no, they
story
would.
to.
That's why you shouldn't go to those guys. You shouldn't go to those guys. It's kind of like the people with Morgellons who have this
The
experimental
fibers.
stuff in their body, and they go to a doctor, and he says they have delusional parasitosis. I mean, wow, they really think up the names, and then sends her down to the psych ward. I mean, it's like you're an idiot. You didn't even take a specimen and analyze it. No, you're in on it. You're in on it somehow.
I
And
think a
and
lot
you
of it. I
don't.
mean, I think there's just this cognitive dissonance, isn't it? People don't. This for various reasons. The same with the pandemic. You can't if you accept that alternative massive change switch in your reality, your whole perspective of kind of your entire existence changes. So you
Yeah.
just keep pushing it away, keep the guards up, keep avoiding it, putting your fingers in your ears and going nye, 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 nye. Literally, because you know it's good. And I think a lot of them know deep down exactly what's going on. Especially, for
Well, we're back
example,
to the yeah, we're back to the conscience. Exactly. They know. On some level, they're complicit. I mean, even cognitive dissonance, like you're saying, cognitive dissonance. Yeah, I'm not going to let people off the hook. What is cognitive dissonance? It's I'm asleep. Let me keep sleeping. That's all it is. It's not something you can say, well, cognitive dissonance, everybody has it. No, no. I'm not letting
but
people off the
do you
hook.
not think there's an element of this as well, that especially we've got this the big thing is obviously the climate. The climate for me, another kind of mind control program.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
so what's happened is that they've slowly entered into the subconscious mind, however they do it. The idea that we need to all accept the fact that many of us have to die. So I think a lot of people know, either consciously or subconsciously, that we need to reduce this population, whether they admit it or not. So in hospitals, let's just kill off as many as we can. This is a good way of getting a few humanely here. And I think some of them know it, some of them don't know that they know it, and I think they're going along with that program. I think that's why we see kind of all this kind of like madness over the climate in London now and in England. We've got people gluing themselves to the road, super gluing their hands to the street, and saying if we don't stop the oil, we're going to be dead in like 5 years. It's
Yeah,
just
but yeah, that goes on. But again, what is it? What is it really saying? I mean, if people are asleep, they have chosen to stay asleep. There are many things that happen in life that give you the opportunity to awaken. There are many, many things. I mean,
yeah.
it's endless. It's endless opportunities. And yet you have again and again and again chosen to stay asleep. And then there's the mind control that you're under, where it's kind of like, don't take me, take him. Yeah, right. Take her. Take those thousands of people over there. As long as it's not me. It's that sort of endless
Oh.
selfish of self-preservation, I suppose you could say. But there are so many motivations that lie in the soul that most people don't want to know. But there it is. There's a choice. You just made a choice. You don't want to know it, so you won't awaken to it. I mean, that's why I don't have much sympathy for people who continue to sleep. Now, the young souls, and not to say that I can tell who's who in this, but now and then you meet someone that you can just tell that they just haven't a clue of what's going on here, and if they did, they might do something. But they're sort of like they're like from another plane of existence that isn't even mine. I mean, imagine that. How many planes of existence are going on simultaneously here? I'm on a pretty high plane myself, but I meet people all the time that seem to be on a very low plane of existence.
Do you think?
And I can't say
I
that
often
they've
think that's.
chosen it.
I often think that's exactly what's happening. It's that multiple realities are existing here now, and we're all
Yeah.
experiencing different. And that's why, I'll hold up an orange, and another person sees it as an apple. And we
Yeah.
look at, and I think is that because we're kind of slightly different frequencies?
Yeah. I think so. And I think that for you and me, people like us, this is a bonanza time to be alive. I mean, my God, how much self-development can you take care of here this time? A lot. You can develop a lot here.
I'm trying to.
Uh,
I'm trying to.
but I mean, it still is, if you're blind to, I was trying to think of something that might have happened here in this apartment building I'm living in. I'm living in a low rent, aging, people on SSI on the dole for their mental state kind of place, 70 units. I'm here because I don't want to think about the rent, and the rent is very cheap, and I am aging, but probably better than most of these people are because I'm not as poor in the many ways that I can see they're poor in. But something will come up here, and I am. I'm at some higher plane, and I have all this opportunity to develop, and yet I'll see that something needs to happen here for this person, and I'll just join right in. I mean, why not? I, I I mean, I'm not going to join in to the point where they intrude on my writing time and my life in a long-term way. But certainly, if I see the need that arises before me, that's just how I'm built. I'll just jump right in if I think I can take care of it, and then if I can't take care of it in a timely manner, I'll I'll do the work of finding someone that can help. I mean that as long as we remember that we are here for service along with our own development, then there's nothing wrong with just growing as much as you can here. Because as I joke all the time on radio shows, you know, I plan to be back, and I'm really going to kick what next time, because I am filling myself with science and technology now, and I will be back, and I will be male next time as
You
well,
sound like Arnold
because
Schwarzenegger now.
yeah, like Arnold Schwarzenegger in a movie way. I mean, he's kind of a goof. He's kind of brainwashed, but no, I will be back, and I'm preparing now for when I come back. That's really how I'm spending my golden years. Is I'm getting ready for the next time.
I'm glad. That's a nice maybe a nice place. I don't want to keep you too long. Maybe would you
No,
like
no,
to end?
we'll do geoengineering another time, because I love your background. By the way, I love that. Yeah,
Yeah, that's one of the classic. That's one of the classic A's they do. I don't know what. Do you want to give us a little? You could give us a 5-minute taster of what's going to be in the next segment, the next episode. I used to watch Dallas when I was a kid, and Dynasty when I was very young. So this is our sitcom. This is the sitcom of life. This is a much more interesting sitcom. I don't want to be J.R.U. in, and you're kind of whoever his missus was. But yeah, that's one of the. I mean, I've got many photos. That's one of the classic A's.
I didn't. I'm not a TV person. Okay. So, have you read any of my books?
I've
No.
read, yeah. I've got
Huh?
so your book, Chemtrails, Harp, and the Full Spectrum Dominance of Planet Earth.
So you read that one?
Yeah,
Okay. So I've written two other books,
yeah.
and the most recent is Geoengineered Transhumanism: How the Environment Has Been Weaponized by Chemicals, Electromagnetism, and Nanotechnology for Synthetic Biology. And that came out a year ago. And now I'm actually rewriting it in a what I did is there's a company called Inner Traditions, and they approached me and said, we want to do a second edition of your book, but we want you to separate it into two books, because this book is 650 pages, this latest book, very big, and it costs quite a bit, like $50 or so. So they want two books, one basically geoengineering, referencing synthetic biology, and they want another one, synthetic biology referencing geoengineering. So I have signed two contracts for two books, and I'm now working on rewriting the geoengineering book, which is great because I can go back through the material now and simplify it, because I've gotten a lot of feedback that people just cannot read anymore. They can't concentrate. They can't remember what they read. And they really want to read, but they're completely daunted by it, and they get tired easily, et cetera, et cetera. And I could say, well, that's your problem. That's not my problem. But I've decided to reconstrue the book and make it a little simpler by taking out some of the complex chemical things and just things I had in it, trying to appeal to the scientists who call. I have about a dozen scientists who follow me. So I'm doing that, and this is a crucial book. This will be a collector's item for in the future when people awaken to what has happened in the last 3 years. Because from the moment I saw the Wuhan footage in early 2020, I knew that 5G played a massive role. And I have yet to be proven wrong in all these years as new things come out and various doctors and researchers and et cetera. So I have written to make clear that the environment was the first phase in the last, and this has been going on, this program I write about called Cloverleaf. It has been going on for almost 30 years now. Yeah. And it is where they are making the environment absolutely inimical to the natural human being in preparation for a synthetic transhuman model. So I explain how they did that through chemistry, electromagnetics, and nanotechnology. And then I tie it in with all the stuff we've been through in the last 3 years, particularly the graphene oxide, which is the real pinnacle of, along with hydrogel, the real pinnacle of how they're going to run these transhumans who are not going to have, eventually not going to have natural blood vessels or nerves. They will have hydrogel graphene oxide vessels, and they will be run remotely by satellite, by triangulation going on here, various triangulations, and the damn cell phone, which I do not own. It is a weapon system par excellence. Anyone who owns an iPhone is just looking for death and destruction, in my opinion. I don't care how convenient it is. I don't care how comforting it is. I don't care about the fast downloads. This is a weapon system running on 5G and 6G. So anyway, it's a great book. This last one is the best, but people are reading the other books in order to understand how it was all set up first through the environment, and now they bring the jab in. And meanwhile, they're bringing the climate thing back because they're now feeding us with the very chemicals and the very apparatus that are in the serums. We're breathing it. It doesn't matter if you're not vaccinated. You're still breathing it. You're still drinking it in the water. You're eating it in the rotten GMO foods, which don't even give you any nutrition whatsoever because the seed is entirely synthetic. Why people eat GMO foods, I haven't. Oh yeah, they want to save money. Oh, well, have at it. Save money. You'll lose your health and you'll have Alzheimer's because you're breathing a lot of aluminum oxide every single day. And it's in your tissues, it's in your brain because it's nano-sized. It can go through the blood-brain barrier. You know, it's like I give you the answers to how you can heal yourself, but because it takes effort to change your style of life, that's not my problem. I can't do anything more. We all have to make a decision. So that's basically the route I've taken. I've been in this now for, I don't know, going on 15 years. I had no idea I would be doing all this stuff on geoengineering, but I had no idea how big the problem was, how huge. And it is the most important big giant elephant in the living room that there is. This is it.
And we talk then. We'll do the geoengineering kind of show for the
Yeah, yeah,
layperson. For the layperson, I mean, I've read a lot. I've read your stuff, and I've listened to you talk. Some of your very long talks and lectures. I've listened to them. But for the average person, it's a lot to to ingest. And it's like
yeah.
trying to
So
read.
we'd
It's like
have
trying
to.
to read a cosmic memory from Steiner. You got to read it like 27 times to get the gist of it. It's not easy, is it?
Oh, really?
Well, for me,
I love that book, Cosmic Memory.
it's a great book. But
That,
sometimes I'm like, what? And then I have to read the paragraph a few times. And
but don't you remember that one beautiful scene in that book that I always remember it, where he talks about how the women are in the cave and the men have gone out to hunt, and the women are tending the fire and taking care of the babies, and the men are miles away. When the air was thick like water, it was a very different time, like a Lemurian, like the Mu days. And so it gets to where it's dinner time, and so the women go out and they sing. They sing, and the watery air carries their voice miles away to where the men are. And the men hear their voice and stop hunting and think, home. They turn around and they go home. I just think it's still that way. It's still something in men that's like that. The will to hunt, the will to, take the world by the horns. And then the women stirring the pot, tending the fire, sending out. Yeah, I love
it's
that
funny.
scene.
That reminds me of as well. Is that there's another guy who does this a lot of research, and he puts out videos on YouTube. He's called Archaics. I don't know if you've ever come across him, but he talks about the age of the vapor canopy, and it kind of like reminds me of that what you just said now. Where
Yeah,
the air was thick and had a different the atmosphere
yeah.
was a different consistency.
Well, and it makes sense, doesn't it? Because the densification of the earth happened very slowly over many millions of years. It was much more liquid. It was much more fluid. and then it densified, just like our bodies. You know, and that in the Cosmic Memory, I think that's the book in which the male and female at the
Split.
beginning of the book are still one,
Mm-hmm.
and they're separated. And you know, it's a wonderful book.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have chosen that one to be difficult. I would have.
Yeah, but
I would have chosen another one.
You're more scholarly than I am. I'm just
I'm
a
very
simple.
scholarly.
I'm just a simple man making my way through the world, fighting off demons, looking for great advice from lonely women across the Atlantic. Trying to get the
Okay,
chemtrails out
yeah.
of my brain. Sometimes I can laugh at the chemtrails, and I imagine them the drones or the planes to be being flown by reptiles, going gang, 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 like, and eating dried flies as they're going along, and and they're like, oh look, there's my ex-wife down there going
Oh,
circling
you
back and
were
doing another extra bit of
good now.
spraying. Because it is a
I
big
see the
game. I
comedian.
mean, at the end of the day, it's all a big game, isn't it? This is a big theatre show, really, isn't it? Kind of. That's
Well,
what.
I don't know. It's a very serious game if it's a game.
But it is. I mean, it's like a cosmic game, isn't it? It's you have to play your role. You've got
But
your role in the
soul,
show. You've got your role in the show,
your
haven't you?
soul, the soul.
Yeah, the soul. But
That's
the soul survives, doesn't it? I don't even think, even
well,
with their witchery.
oh,
I'm not.
it's about more than surviving. It's about much more than surviving. Never mind. That's enough for today.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, Elana Freeland, thank you so much for coming on to my
This is very.
visual podcast. It's been lovely to
It
meet
took us
you.
a while, didn't it?
Yeah, it took us a while. And thank you for being persistent.
Yeah, yeah.
And then maybe I did channel a bit of Rudolf Steiner because when I was like kind of praying to hit for some assistance, I
I
asked
think
him for
so. 'Cause
assistance.
there I am.
Yeah, and suddenly it just worked. So come on, we got to have
Oh,
some
but wait
faith.
a minute. I got the Chrome up. I downloaded it, but then it wouldn't work because I didn't give it its secret codes or whatever. But then I did download it, so maybe that's why this came.
Okay, all
Remember?
right, cool. Brilliant. Well, listen.
I'll give some
Next time
credit.
next time we'll talk about geoengineering, and you can give us a kind of a couple hours of like introduction into because there's about 8 reasons, isn't there, in your estimation as to what they're up to and what they're doing, and
Oh, there's
it's
seven
not just
operations.
reflecting the sun.
Yeah, there's 7 operations. Right, right.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you very much. Have enjoyed the rest of your day.
All right. Such as it is. It's getting dark here. All
Okay.
right. All right. Good night.
God bless you. Thanks very much.
God bless you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Learn.